Good evening, tubers. T.O. here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight. I'm actually out in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Been doing a lot of traveling lately. Was out in Denver earlier last week, and then ended up, at the Lake Fork tournament for THSBA. So spent a few days, 2 or 3 days out in Yantas, Texas. Then finally got to go home for a night, and then now I'm out here back out in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So not a lot of time to be doing a bunch of videos for you guys, but I did have a couple hours tonight, so I figured I'd go ahead and start a new lake breakdown for you. This one, we're going southeast to a lake that has been requested many times, and that is Lake Sam Rayburn. So we're going to break down Sam Rayburn tonight. This is probably going to be about 5 videos total. I'm thinking it's going to be probably 3 different zones for the Google Earth waypoints and things like that we can find. And then from there, we'll switch over to the offshore spots. That'll probably take us about 2 different segments to do that. And that'll probably wrap us up for Sam Rayburn. So if you're wanting to find some good information on Rayburn, where to fish, hot spots, offshore hotspots, ramps, rock piles, brush piles, all that good stuff, stick around because I know I got some good stuff for you. Here we go. Three, two, one. All right, let's get started. Talk about Sam Rayburn Reservoir. So if you look over here to the left-hand side, I'm using the new format that we've discussed in the last couple of videos. If you missed them, don't worry, I'll explain them to you really quick. Basically, I broke this down by a couple different categories. You've got your offshore hotspots. You've got your fish attractors that are put in there by Texas Park and Wildlife. You've also got rocks, so I broke it down by rocks. Debris, so this would be laydowns, brush piles, maybe even just man-made debris and things like that. That's going to mark all those things for you. You've also got your creek channels, which this lake has a ton of creek channels. And I'm thinking, and I don't know because I've never fished Sam Rayburn, but I'm definitely going to go fish it at some point in my life. But seeing all these creek channels in here and just the way that the lake is laid out, I've got to believe that if you're not fishing in or around a creek channel in this lake, you're probably doing yourself some disjustice. By not doing that. So definitely focus on the creek channels here, or at least that would be my suggestion to you. I think it's really going to help you out on this lake. We also have roads, ditches, ponds, and ramps. So when you add it all together, it is a ton of different points. You can see them all here on the screen. So let's go ahead and break this thing down. I think what we're going to do is we're going to obviously do the offshore hotspots in 2 different videos later on. So we'll take those out. And really what we're going to focus on is all the things that we were able to find from Google Earth. So that's what we're going to focus on tonight. I'm going to basically take us all the way south of 147, show you all the different stuff I found on Google Earth, and come back up to 147 on this side. We'll finish the video there. And then on the next video, we're going to go north of 147, and I'll show you all the things that we found on that side. So let's go ahead and jump into this thing. Let's start right up here. And first thing I want to do is go back and we're going to look at our dates, and we're going to try to get the best date that we can to be able to find a good image of when this water was down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, I'm going to click this little icon right here. And once I click that, it shows me this historical image, and then I'm just going to draw it back. Now I can tell you that in Texas, our droughts seem to have been either in 2015 or 2013. So that's typically when I can get the best image. So let's see what this image brings me back. And if it doesn't bring it back good enough, then we're going to keep working our way back down. So 2015 didn't give me very good. 13 is not any good. Looks like this 11 of 2012 is probably going to be the one that we're going to want to get. So as soon as this thing focuses in, we'll get started. I apologize for the delay here. I'm actually in a hotel this evening, so I'm going off hotel internet, so it's going to be a little bit slower. So to start off with, I didn't find a lot of debris and stuff like that on this lake. A lot of the bottom here is going to be your sandy, kind of muddy bottom. And that's what I meant by you really need to focus on these creek channels. These creek channels look like they really are going to be where the fish are going to be more attracted to. It's really the only thing in the areas that I can see that they would be able to relate to. So in that case, you know they're going to be money. So in this little area back in here, I've marked the creek channels for you. Now, if you have hummingbird graphs, these are going to come in as waypoints. If you have Lawrence or Garmin graphs, these will actually come in as the tracks. So you'll see the tracks here. I've outlined both creek channels for you. So really all you got to do is just follow those tracks and fish around those creek channels, especially the bends and the turns and the swings. All those things are going to be your primary areas. So anywhere this thing makes a real hard turn, right in here, right here, right over here, all those areas are going to be really prime spots to be able to find fish. So then as we move on down here out of the pocket there, let's go ahead and cover this one real quick. There is a culvert that's back here. You can see when the water was down, there was an old roadbed that came through here. And then here's your submerged culvert. So I've marked that culvert for you. Also on this side, there's some brush that's over in here that I marked for you guys. You can barely see it. Probably can't even see it right now because the image. Let's see if I can bring it back down one more year. Nope, it's not going to let me. Trying to find that perfect image for you guys. I just can't do it. So let's leave it 2011, because that seems like our best one. I think we had 2012 earlier, though. We had a better image, but this is still a good image. So let's keep moving down. The next thing that we found in here was just a laydown. And I missed this. This almost looks like a pond, but doesn't look like much of a pond. So I guess it's not a big deal that we didn't mark it. But then moving on down here. Now, of course, you're always going to be looking for hydrilla in this lake. You can see here, just even on this image, that this lake has some grass. It's all this dark area in here. These are all weed lines. So if you can find those weed lines where they're not blowing out and they make a very defined straight edge, those are typically going to be your better weed lines to fish around. So you fish just on the outside of those edges. That's going to be your hot spots if you're fishing around the weed lines. Now, if you're not, go and fish around the creek channels. You're probably going to have a lot better success that way. Now back here, you got a couple more creek channels too. So I marked both of those for you. And again, if we look at this when it's up, when the water's up, you have no idea where that creek channel is. So these are going to come in really, really handy and really allow you to position your boat correctly to be able to catch the fish that you're out there looking for. And this is a great lake to catch a PVE. As we move on down here, I'm going to take these fish attractors off. We'll talk about the offshore stuff here in a little bit. As we move down here, down the bank line, again, didn't see too much, but there is some things that are over here. We've got a ramp that's over here with some rock around it. So that's going to be a good spot. You've also got some rock right in here in the shady line. You can kind of see it. It's real shallow, but you can get up there with a square bill or something like that and probably hit up all these little gravel piles that are in here. This is just real shallow rock, but definitely take a look at those spots. I'm going to back this out. Next thing that we come to is this creek channel. So again, real healthy creek channel right here. So fish around that creek channel, especially right there around that bend. That's probably going to be a good spot for you. As we move further over here, we've got a lay down here. We've got another creek channel that's back in here. And we've got another major creek channel that comes back here too. And you can see where this creek channel is because you can see the weed lines. See how the different tint that's there? So that's going to be juicy. So fish all of these. Definitely fish around those bends, fish around those creek channels, see what you can find. Moving on up here, we've got some additional rock that's right out here off the edge of this point. Probably going to be underwater when the water's all the way up, but it's going to be pretty shallow rock. So again, probably square bills, things like that, something pretty shallow. Then I'm going to move this back so we can keep moving down. We're going to come down here to the next pocket. And when we get to the next pocket, again, we have another creek channel. So I did like this out here. I'm sure that's probably an offshore spot, how that comes out. But again, not seeing the stuff that I normally would see on Google Earth on this lake. It's really more sand and dirt. So not a lot of debris and stuff to be located, but I did find some stuff. We got a lay down right here. We have some additional debris right in there. Got another lay down that's right up in here. Another one right in here. There's just not a ton of lay downs. You can see there's a lot of standing timber back in here. So I could see this being a good fishing spot. But I'm telling you, if I was fishing back in here, I'd probably ignore these things that I found. Maybe check that one out just because it says check and I can't tell what it is, but it looks significant. But some of this other stuff, like these laydowns and stuff, I honestly don't know if I would even waste my time on those. I would probably spend more time fishing these creek channels, just staying in the creek channels, hitting every creek channel that I could until I was able to locate the fish. So then moving down here, we've got some more stuff to check, just some debris. You've got a little pond that's in here. So your ponds are going to be outlined in orange. And remember, depending on where that pond dam is, looks like that pond dam's more on this side. It's always a good idea to not only fish the outside where that break is right there, but also to fish the inside. So don't forget to fish the inside of the pond dams, not just the outside. Then moving on down here, we finally got some debris that's coming off of this point. We've got a little lay down right in here. We've got another lay down in this area. And then we've got several just coming right in here. If you guys zoom in, you'll be able to see these a little better. It just looks like lay down trees, 2 or 3 of them here, a couple more here, and a couple more here in this area. So just a couple lay downs off there, nothing too crazy. And then as we move further back in here, we've got another ditch that's right in here. So you can see this little color. It's almost, I would have called it a creek channel, but there's no creek tied to it, but it's definitely a ditch in there, a little canal or something. So went ahead and marked that for you guys. And then back in here, you've got a really good creek channel that starts up in here, Comes all the way around, makes some really good hard turns. That turn right there has got to be good. That one's probably going to be good as well. Coming down in here, this whole bank line right here, and all right in here is all going to be good. So just follow those creek channels and really pay attention to where those creek channels are. And if they're come up and slam up against the bank, kind of like this one does, you know that whole bank line is going to be a pretty good area to be fishing around. Then as we move further out of here, we just got some more laydowns. I've marked a couple there for you. Another laydown in there. And then as we move further out, let me go ahead and back this out so you can see where I'm at. About a quarter of a way down from that highway, we got another laydown right in here. So I've marked that for you. Now again, these laydowns, they're pretty few and far between. You're not seeing a ton of them, just more sand and dirt and things like that. So when that's the case, you know, you're focusing on points, you're focusing on creek channels and humps and things like that. The next thing that we found was back in here. I found a really nice creek channel coming up in here as well. So you can see here, you've got some pretty good turns on this creek channel too. And we've got some more back up in here, some real good creek channels back up in here. So you can follow them. And again, if you've got the helix units, these will be waypoints. Everybody else, you'll have these tracks. See all of this here as well. Got some pretty good creek channels back in here. Just a lot of creek channels on this lake, a ton. And they all look juicy. This one looks really good too. Some really hard turns here. You've got another one back in here as well. So this would be great if you go out to the lake, you stick this card in, and now all of a sudden you are able to visually see where every single creek channel is in the lake, and you can just go and have a heyday on it. So moving down here, didn't find any debris, no rock, no laydowns or anything from Google Earth, really just finding these creek channels. So again, we got another creek channel up here. This one's really juicy as well. And if you want to see these again, when I pull that date up, you're going to notice that it's not nearly as obvious as it is when I have that date down. So those creek channels just look like they're out in the middle of the water, which they definitely are. But if you were out there on a boat, you'd have a hard time finding it. But if you got this chip, it's going to make it really, really easy for you to be able to locate that creek channel and really be able to fish around it and fish around it effectively. So I'm going to keep moving down here. Didn't see too much in these little pockets. I mean, they're all good little pockets, but you know, probably just focusing on weed lines since there's not any kind of debris or cover for us to fish around. Then coming up here, we've got another really good creek channel right in this area. Looks pretty healthy. Got a lot of grass, a lot of shallow area around in here. This is Rayburn Park. As I come out around this point and swing back up here, you would have thought I would have found a lot of laydown and rock, but I didn't find anything on this side, hardly at all. And then until I get way up in here, and then here's where I find more creek channels. So again, here, this looks like Lane Creek. Got a really good creek channel, some really good drops going on in there, some good bends and things like that. Again, primary areas to be focusing on in this lake for sure. Moving up here, we've got some more creek channels up here that look really good. And then I think there's even one farther back. No, I didn't have one farther back in there, but did have one over here on this side. That's pretty decent. That's almost more like a ditch. That one almost not a creek channel, but I'm going to call it a creek channel. We almost have another one back in here as well, coming through here. I mean, they are everywhere, guys, but not every single pocket. You know, you'd have to pick the right pockets, but I just picked all the pockets where I could find the creeks, and then I marked them for you. So we got another one here. Got another one back in here as well. And again, the bottom really wasn't giving me much. I didn't see a lot of dirt, a lot of rocks and debris and stuff like that I could mark. But I definitely found more creek channels than I've ever found in any of the other lakes. These are really good ones. These have really good bends. Look like they have some pretty good depth to them as well. You've got one here. You got one back here as well. Looks like you may even have an old roadbed that cuts through here too. You could possibly fish around. So check all those out. And then as we move further down here, we've got more creek channels, just creek channel galore. And then as we move down here around this point, and come back up here, there's two little creeks that are coming in here. You can kind of see them coming down through the landscape. Got one right there that's marked with your turns and everything, and you got one right here that's pretty straight, and then it finally has a turn right there at the end. Then I'm going to keep moving up. We're going to go over here, and I promise you guys it's going to get better when we get to the west side. This southeast side really looked like it was fairly shallow, really just more creek channel fishing. So a lot of creek channels up here again. Marked them all for you so you guys can fish around those. We've got some additional channels up in here. You can see they're Really cool now that we're able to do the tracks too. We can get really specific with where that creek channel is, and so when you're fishing it, you know you're going to be right in the middle of it. So got really good ones back here as well. Got another good one back here. Just all kinds of good channels to fish. Got good ones here. What is that? 5 or 6 different creek channels right in that area. So you could really, if they were in those creek channels and really relating to that type of structure, you could really do some damage up there in that corner. So you've also got over here by Mill Creek Park, you've got another creek channel coming in here. And finally, we got a boat ramp, something other than creek channels. So you got a boat ramp over there. Got more creek channels back in here. Another pretty healthy one. Then now I'm going to swing back down. We're finally kind of getting back down into where the little bow is in the lake down here. More creek channels. You got 3 more creek channels back here. This would be a good little pocket to get back in. It looks like you may even have a little road bed here as well. But you got 3 good creek channels right there. Got another one back in here that you could focus on. And then one more right in there. And then finally, we're going to start getting over here and we start seeing some stuff, seeing some different things other than the creek channels. We got a creek channel right here that you can see. And then if you look real closely, you'll see this orange. This orange is the pond dam, or it's the outer linings of the pond. The pond dam is probably right in there, it looks like. And that's where your little opening is. So fishing right around in this area, right there where the mouse is, that's going to be your hot spot, or just fall over and fish this creek channel. You've got some stumps that are actually out here. So for the first time, we're finally starting to see a little bit of better stuff. So got some stumps that are out on that side. And then as we move up here around these islands and everything, we've got some rocks over in this area. So there's not a lot of rocks on this lake. Like I said before, a lot of this stuff is really rocky really muddy and sandy. So not a lot of rock to be had. So definitely if you can find these spots that have the rock, those are going to be high percentage areas because there's not a lot for them to relate to. They're either going to relate to the creek channel, or they're going to relate to the rocks or the standing timber or the docks. Because there's just not a lot of other things for them to relate to. So rock piles are few and far between, but when you find the rocks, definitely fishing. You got some rocks here and rocks here as well. And then as I back out, as I come down here off of this little point on the south end, I'm just going to show you guys where I'm at here. I'm right down in here, so I'm at the very south end of the lake. We talked about those rock piles. We've got a laydown that's right in here as well, right off the edge of that you'll be able to see. I don't think my image is really that clear tonight, and I apologize. I'm trying to get a better image for you guys so you can see this. There's a laydown and some rock right off this point, so definitely fish around that. You can see that rock's pretty light right in there, but you definitely got some other stuff right here off that point too that looks like it could be good. You got some additional rock that's right in here too, right off the edge of that point. And then as we move back over here, didn't find too much in this little pocket, but as we moved over here, found one little lonely laydown. And guys, these could be hot spots. I know I said before, I'd probably skip some of these things, but if that's the only laydown in, heck, I don't know, thousands of feet around it, there's going to be something setting on that because that's a prime target. So even though there's not that many of them, maybe still go check them because they are definitely high percentage areas for them to be hanging around. As we move back in here, we get down here by Sam Rayburn Marina Resort. There was some stuff back in here in this pocket. There's a laydown that's right here off the edge of this point. You can see it right here. There's another one right there that looks like I missed. And then we've got some rock, some shallow rock that's right over here off this point. Again, not a lot of rock on this lake, so when you find it, definitely want to fish it. We've got some rock over here off the edge of the point, on the back side of the marina as well. And then if you come out of the marina and just hang right over here to this point, you'll see that there's some riprap off this point too and some rock that's underneath the water here. So check those out for sure. Again, sandy, muddy, pretty much everything that we saw up there. So this rock is definitely a good thing to see here. We've got some additional rock right in here off of this point. We've got ramps down here. Obviously around the ramps, you're always going to find the rocks as well. So you've got rocks and then another ramp. So you got 2 ramps and then you got the riprap right there as well. You've also got a little ditch that's kind of hidden back behind here, coming right off of this road. And sometimes these ditches can be little magical spots that people just don't even pay attention to. So check out those ditches when you're out there fishing and just see if you can find some fish relating to them. Now, if we come out here off of this island, I guess you could call it an island. It's more like a point, but I'll call it an island. I'm thinking that's probably, if I filled the water up, that'd probably go underwater. But you do have some rocks right off this side of the island. So check that out. That also looks like it might have a decent drop possibly. So we'll look at it when we move over to Navionics and actually start looking at the contour lines. But definitely fish the outside of that island. Got another ramp that's back in here as well. And then as we move up here, we're going down the dam. We've got the riprap on the dam. And then we get over in here, start seeing some additional rock as well. So we've got rock right off the side of this point down here by the dam. As we move further up, lots of activity down here, totally different than what we were looking at on the other side. You got more rock here right outside of this little U.S. Army Corps of Engineers building. You've also got some riprap around these points right in here. Got additional rock all around these points and that point there too. So if you're on a rock pattern, I would say probably come down here, get more on this kind of lower left-hand side. You're going to start finding a lot more rock and that type of stuff to be able to fish around. Getting back in here, same type thing. We've got rocks off each one of these points. You can see those. And then moving up here, we've got more rock just along this bank line. Let me zoom out and show you. There's like 4 different spots of rock right there. And then as we move up, I finally found a laydown. It takes me forever to find the laydowns on this lake. There's one right here. And then we move up, we got some more rock. So rock off both these points. Looks like they may even have like some little mini ledges or little mini drops. You can see both of these points being really good. And then right behind that point is a very large laydown that you can see right here. So let's zoom this back out just a little bit and keep moving up. The next thing we found was a ditch that's back in here that's coming off of a pond. So here's your pond dam, kind of outlined it for you here. And there's where the break is in the pond that actually goes out, and that's your ditch that's created from the pond. Again, these little areas, these little ditches that people probably wouldn't even notice that are there, a lot of times, those hold fish a lot of times. So do not look past them. Always go and check them out and just see if there's anything there. Those ditches can be magical spots. So I was just moving the dates up while we were talking there to see if I could see anything better there, but it looks like that's about as good as we're going to get. Moving down in here, again, you got another laydown that's right in here. You got some ditches and things there. That one wasn't significant enough for me to mark. You've also got some rock that's off of this little point, underwater point right here. Got some additional rock going on right in here. Let's zoom in for you and show you this. It's just this little scattered shallow rock. So again, go out there and burn it with a square bill or something like that and just bounce off that rock and just make as much noise as you can. Be surprised at what you might be able to pick up there. Probably not going to be your giant fish, but you can definitely get those fish that you need to fill the well for the tourney. So then moving up here off of this point, didn't see too much going on, just a lot of dirt, mud, sand, so not too much going on there. But if you pull back from that point, there is some rock right around here, right off the edge here. And there's a ramp over here as well. So usually when you find the ramp, you find the rocks for the most part. Moving down here, didn't see too much. These little points here look interesting. I can't tell if this is just sand, like whitish colored dirt sand, or if that's actually rock. I don't think it's rock, so I didn't mark it as a rock, but if it is, you would definitely want to fish them. Still, though, you may find that in these areas where you find this really white type bottom, those could be a hot spot at some point in time, and the fish might start relating to just those areas. So just pay attention when you're fishing. If you notice that you're catching fish and the bottom of the lake or the land right there where you're fishing is a lot brighter, has this brighter white, then you could go back to Google Earth, pull up those spots, find those spots where that whiter texture is, and that could be the spots that they're relating to. But I don't think those are rock. Don't know, but love to know if you're a local there. Let me know if those are hard spots or not, if that's just like sandy stuff. It's hard to tell by looking at Google Earth. Then moving up here, didn't find too much going on back in here. Did find a laydown right here. Actually, it's more than a laydown. It's multiple laydowns. So you got a bunch of them right in here. I imagine some of those are going to be out of the water, but you'll at least get the tops of those trees in the water, and those can always be fun to flip around and things like that. Now, as we move up here, it starts getting bare again. We start getting into more just the creek channels, right? We get away from that rock, start getting back in here to just laydowns. So you got a couple laydowns right in there that you can see. You got some more laydowns right up here in this little pocket that we got. And then as we move over here, we start getting some really good creek channels again. So this one looks really good back here. Very well defined, got lots of grass around it and stuff like that. Would definitely be a good one to fish around. You've got another one up here too that you could fish in. And then if we keep going up, we're just going to start seeing these in about every other pocket. Got another creek channel right here that's marked for you guys, and another one up here as well. Then I'm going to keep moving, and pretty much we're just going to creek channel you out here. More creek channels through here. I'm not going to worry out with them too much. I know it's boring to watch this, but more creek channels here as well. We come up into these other pockets. We've got multiple ones, 3 right here. We've also got some road beds in here that I marked for you. So if you see this yellow line, that is where I was able to tell that there was actually a road bed there. So fish around those road beds. The road beds here on Rayburn, they seem like they were almost dirt roads, like they weren't concrete roads before they were flooded. If you notice, there's not concrete, there's not a lot of rock around it. So I don't know if the road beds are going to be as good here, but definitely if you follow those road beds, you can almost always find a culvert, a creek channel, or something that hits that road bed, and then that's going to be your hot spot. So anyways, just check out these road beds, see if anything's relating to them. If not, then spin off and check out all these creek channels. I guarantee you something's relating to the creek channels. So you got about 4 creek channels coming in the back of that little pocket there, which is really good. And then here's your Caney Creek Park boat ramp. You got the ramp there, and then just right by it, you got a pretty good little creek channel that's coming through there too. So go up and check that out. If you're in a kayak, maybe launch here and then just go back here and fish the creek channel. Moving up here, you've got some additional ramps. There's a ramp that's buried way back in here, and it makes a pretty little significant little ditch that comes out into the main lake. So maybe they might relate to that. I don't know. It would really depend on if the grass is growing there, if you got any weed lines, or if there's really any depth change there. It looks like there is, but again, when you're looking in a Google Earth, you don't really always know until you get out there on the lake and take a look at it. But again, if you're checking all these spots out, you're going to come across some good stuff eventually for sure. Some more good creek channels right in here. And then as we move up here, you see these yellow lines. These are all old road beds that I've marked for you guys. So this is an old road bed right here, and there is some debris right here off the edge of this road bed. It looks like there's some debris on top of this hump. So maybe checking out this area right in here, especially that hump, see if there's anything relating to that. You've got a road bed right in here as well. Excuse me. And then you've also got a creek channel back in here. It's like we've been talking about this whole video. Lots and lots of creek channels and lots of road beds too. More road beds up in here. You can see I've marked them all for you. Again, I can't tell if these road beds are going to be any good or not, but I went ahead and just highlighted them for you so that you knew they were there. If you're out there fishing in that area, maybe just go scan around them, see if you see an activity relating to those road beds. That road bed actually cuts all the way up through here and connects back through here. So I marked it the best that I could from what I could find. And then as we're talking about that road bed, we've got another creek channel back in here as well. So that takes us all the way up to Highway 147. We'll stop right here. Let's make this our last spot. So this is Highway 147 that we have here. There's a little bit of rock right here on the edge of the bridge that you can fish as well. So as you guys can see, I have broke this lake down completely. That covers us for the first section for the Google Earth side. Next video, we'll talk about everything north of 147. And then we'll go back, we'll talk about the fish attractors and all the offshore hotspots and make sure that we give you guys plenty of places to fish. Hey, if you haven't had a chance yet, hit that subscribe button down below. It really helps us out a ton. And if you want to pick up these waypoints, you can always go find them at simplisticfishing.com. We've got the SD cards for the Helix units, Lawrence and Garmin units, and we also have the digital files as well if you just want to download those and put it on your own card. So until next time, guys, I hope you catch your PB. Take it easy.